welcome to South First. I am Chetna Belgare. The British police are probing the case of rape of a 16-year-old girl in a virtual reality world of Metaverse. While this is the first time a probe is being initiated, it isn't the first complaint of sexual assault on avatars of women in the virtual reality world. We have with us Ms. Nina Jane Patel, who is the co-founder of Kabuni that works towards making Metaverse a safe space for children. A psychotherapist, Nina was among the first women to flag sexual assault on avatars in the world of virtual reality and the psychological and the physiological trauma it leaves on them. Welcome to South First, Ms. Nina.
Thank you.
My first question to you is if you could briefly explain to our audience what exactly is Metaverse?
Metaverse, in the context of how we're experiencing it today, is virtual reality. So what happens is you put your head-mounted display on, your headset, and you enter a platform, you select your avatar, and then you enter a social virtual environment in which you're engaging with other people represented as avatars in a digital environment. There's a high level of immersion, presence, and embodiment, which makes the digital environment feel very authentic and very real, and a very compelling place to spend our time.
Okay, so it's basically you are present there, right? It gives a feeling of you being present there in whatever avatar you want to be.
Yes, the technology has been designed for many decades now. It's not a new technology, but it really is just coming to be accessible by mainstream society in the context of being able to purchase accessibly priced headsets and also platforms generating environments that are inviting you and I and our children, our family, and our friends into these environments to engage in new and exciting ways.
Yes, and I think India is already there. I mean, it's out there. A lot of children, a lot of adults from India are definitely there in the metaverse world. So we know that a 16-year-old girl has come forward to speak about being gang raped on a metaverse platform. You are a survivor of such an assault, and you coming out in the open and speaking about it did lead to several changes on the monitoring on the metaverse world, and it's still continuing to happen. So could you tell us about the incident if you are okay with it? If you could just briefly explain like what exactly happened.
Yes, but first I want to acknowledge the bravery of this young girl who's come forward with what she feels was an attack against her and wants to take steps with the police investigation to hold the perpetrators accountable. So I really do applaud her, her bravery, and the support of her parents and caregivers in having this conversation with the police and therefore bringing it to our attention even more.
Correct.
So back in 2021, when a commercial platform first launched here in the UK, like many others, I entered the virtual space, I selected my avatar, and I entered the communal area, this lobby area, in which very quickly an attack progressed against me that was about 3 to 4 male presenting avatars with male voices who first verbally assaulted me, sexually assaulted me, and then continued to what I can only describe as sexually assault my avatar. I tried to move to another area. They were relentless and pursued. This felt very targeted and very aggressive. And then I wrote about it in 2021, exploring the kind of concept of, is this had been one of my children, one of my 4 children who are also teenagers. This is not an acceptable behavior. This is not what virtual reality should be about, and that I should speak up and speak out, just like this girl has done recently, to share this experience and warn others about the potential harms, both psychologically and physiologically, in the context of the metaverse and what technology is to come.
Okay, so this is probably the first, I really do agree with you that, you know, we must definitely give credit to the girl's bravery to come forward and also the support from her parents, absolutely. This is probably the first time a formal complaint as such has been lodged, but do you believe that there might be several such cases where people would not even have realized what just happened to them? And then, you know, what is your opinion on that? Do you think there are multiple such cases happening across the globe?
Absolutely. This is the very tip of the iceberg. I'm involved with a research project with University of East London and Middlesex University, in which we consulted with children and young people between the ages of 8 and 16 And their feedback and their words were that they feel unsafe in the metaverse, that they are often encountered with abuse, homophobia, and misogyny, either towards them or towards others when they enter social virtual environments, and that they don't feel safe. It's a fact that this is happening, and not enough is being done to prevent it and to protect our children.
Okay. You're a psychotherapist as well. So, what's the kind of trauma that this kind of incident can actually leave behind, especially on a child?
Yeah, the technology is such that the lines between the virtual world and the physical world are becoming increasingly blurred. And we know that children and young people have a capacity to connect with the digital world in very meaningful ways. And that can be a positive thing, to stay engaged with their friends and communication and even learning, and many aspects of potential possible positive aspects of the technology. But they also feel very connected emotionally, mentally, and physiologically, potentially, to their avatars. And evidence shows that an experience in virtual reality, the physiological signals of the body respond just as though it was happening in the physical world. Our bodies are responding as though it's real because it feels very lifelike and very authentic. And indeed, the entire design of the technology is to replace reality to as much as the fidelity that we are now experiencing can offer.
Hmm. So in Indian context, coming back to, like you said, it is tip of an iceberg, and now I think it should ring alarm bells in across the globe. And then coming to Indian context, what do you think the lawmakers should actually take note of now? And do you think they should start?
Well, it should be aligned with considerations of child exploitation, child sexual abuse within the online cyberspace. And there are some laws that may transfer into the metaverse, especially in the context of screenshots or sharing of images of children and young people engaged in sexual activities or being abused in some capacity. Some of those laws can move over into the metaverse. The difficulty is when we're experiencing an assault or trauma or an attack in real time, in the capacity of perhaps it's not text-based, there are no words, it's nonverbal communication, and it happens in an instant. And what often happens is there's no evidence, and there is no way to conduct a police investigation without. And additionally, because each platform has different mechanisms for blocking reporting such incidents, it is very difficult and challenging for adults, let alone a child who is experiencing trauma in this space. And what often happens is it goes unmentioned, it goes unsaid. And then what happens is we perpetuate this cycle of this is what the technology is for. This is how we are allowed to behave in these spaces. And then children, learn very quickly from behaviors that they see. And then it perpetuates the cycle of violence and abuse that we already see in the 2D internet, let alone a 3-dimensional internet where we're fully immersed, present, and embodied in the digital environment.
Yes, I totally agree with you. So could you share some tips on identifying such behaviors on metaverse space? I mean, you have studied the entire metaverse.
Well, first of all, if you're a child or you're a parent that has children, that you engage together in the technology, that you understand and you explore these new worlds with your child together, whether that's both in a headset or some capacity of screen sharing in terms of broadcasting onto a separate device, so that you can see what that environment is about, what is happening, who else is there. And also know that each platform has different intentions for what activities should be happening there. Some of them are designed to have darker intentions and with purpose of having negative social implications. And you certainly don't want your children engaging in that. But also those values cross over into what we might call more social virtual environments that are inviting us to meet with our friends and families. And what happens is, and I'm sure it happened in the instance of this young girl, is that someone had behaved this way in a different platform and brought those acceptable behaviors that are rewarded in gaming environments, etc., and brought them into an environment that wasn't necessarily created for that type of activity. And also, if your child reports to you, or even if you experience something negative, take it seriously. Your feelings are valid. Do not underestimate the power of the technology and your physiological reactions to that. It is something to validate and to consider that that behavior is not acceptable, and to speak up and to report it, and then to block those perpetrators, and do everything that you can within the platform's mechanisms to show that, and show that you feel that this behavior is unacceptable and you will not accept it. And it's because we are at the very early days of the metaverse.
A person who is on the metaverse platform can actually take care of certain tips to actually ensure that there is enough evidence to, if something like this happens, then for him or her to bring it open into the law personals. So is there anything like that?
Yes, and unfortunately, of the plethora of platforms that are available to us in terms of gaming and entertainment and social virtual environments, each platform has different mechanisms for that to take action. So the blocking and reporting mechanism is slightly different on every platform, and then the reporting mechanism, if there is one, is also different. And so to provide a kind of blanket advice wouldn't be useful in this circumstance, but what I would advise is to read very clearly the terms and conditions, go to the websites, which you can read the information that provides the instructions of when things go wrong, how you can block and report. And please, if they don't have a system, don't enter that environment, because it means that it wasn't built to be safe and wasn't built to provide any sort of mechanism to hold negative behaviors or even illegal behaviors and those perpetrators accountable. And so I would advise that, unfortunately, the onus is on you as a user to do your homework and understand the terms and conditions and the best practices and the policy guidelines of each individual community, of each individual platform. And unfortunately, that is not the way it should be, especially in the context of child's rights to play, to learn, to grow, free from harm. But unfortunately, even today, we haven't learned from the mistakes of the internet, and we're building yet another digital environment where children are having to protect themselves and worry about negative behavior before they can even really engage and enjoy the technology.
So, I have this one question on what do you have to tell this? Because normally what happens is when somebody goes and reports it to anybody, the first thing that would come, especially I'm sure it's there globally, but in country like India, the first thing they would say is, why were you on, you shouldn't have been not gone as a female avatar, or things like that. So what do you have to tell the survivors themselves? There might be many of them who've not, it might not really be a sexual assault. It could be of any nature where they have felt very insecure on the platform. So what do you have to tell them?
Well, it's victim blaming, isn't it? You shouldn't have walked down that street. You shouldn't have worn that outfit. You shouldn't have looked at that man in that particular way. It is this age-old story where somehow the victim is asking for the attack and for the assault, and the damage is their own fault. And this is not acceptable in 2024. We're in a world where we have human rights, we have equal rights, and we must demand that environments, that ecosystems are built that protect us in this capacity for our right to explore the digital world on equal terms without having the fear of assault or attack or discrimination.
Okay, coming to one last question, when you said about equal terms, I would want to know, do you think women leaders should be there in policy making, especially in terms of technology development and, the industry itself? Do you think they should listen to women more in building all these technologies systems?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, in the current state of technology and innovation, there are not enough women at the table designing and creating and building policy for these environments, these digital worlds that we all will be engaging with in the future. Of course, the similar same old story of the same stereotype of person is at the table building these environments and does not have the lived experience to be able to even contemplate the best policies and safety by design and thriving by design, which is entirely possible. It's not the technology that's holding us back, it's the ecosystem in which we innovate.
Thank you very much, Nina. It was wonderful speaking to you. Is there anything else which you would like to add to the interview? One last thing, which if you have
my last final comment was, Yes, there are dangers in the metaverse, but if you and I, parents and communities who uphold the values that we all believe we should be raising children in a world where we're even talking about the metaverse, then we have to engage with the technology. We can't turn our heads and look the other way, because what happens is those who have bad intentions are engaging with the technology. They are building it, and they are the ones that will win at the end of the day. So you and I, as women, as parents, and believers in an equal society, need to be involved and need to speak up and demand a better system.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nina Jane Patel. It was wonderful speaking to you. That is all we
Thank you
have
for
for
having
today.
me.
Thank you.